Not all pagans practice witchcraft, and not all witches are pagan. This is where it gets fun, and this is where I understand the misconception, but when you get it, you get it. Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy. I'm Morgan, and today I am revisiting a topic that I've apparently done before, but was a very long time ago. So it's something that keeps coming up for me on social media recently. And back in 2023, on episode 85, that was called Witchcraft is Not Wicca. Now, I went back through my notes. I looked over it, and I am definitely not the same person I was in 2023. So today I am revisiting Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism. Let's finally clear it up. And it's going to be a lot more in depth. Okay, I've done a lot more research into this in the last 2 years. I have definitely grown as a person. So I think there were probably things back in 2023 that I was scared of saying on my podcast. And now I don't give a shit. So if you want to go back and listen to that one, either before or after this one, by all means. I did not actually listen to it. I just found my notebook and all my notes to see what I had covered back then. But I'm sure that the contrast between that episode and this episode would be pretty great. All right. So the reason I wanted to talk about this now is I had a video go semi-viral on Facebook, like a Reels. And it was supposed to just be this fun October-themed Reels. And oh my God, the comments, okay? Oh Lord. So I understand that the ones that were coming at me were probably trolls. I completely understand that. But there was one individual who kept arguing with me about the difference between Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism. And he kept saying that all of my definitions were incorrect. They were outdated. And I was like, oh my God, it's all modern. But I kept trying. I finally got to the point where I just kept telling him, just Google it. Just Google it. You are arguing with me and you are like, just Google it. Okay? Because I could not understand. But in reading a lot of other people's comments, I realized that there is a huge misconception about Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism. Okay? So even in episode 85, I was just talking about the differences between witchcraft and Wicca. I'm throwing paganism in there today, okay? And we're going to go over the definitions of them. We're going to get a little nerdy. We're going to go over what each are and are not, how they are alike and different, and then common misconceptions about them. And this is going to be pretty fucking comprehensive. So if you have anyone who is confused about Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism, please send them this episode. Okay? Because I have a knack for explaining things in very easy ways. I have found that over the years of teaching and just who I am. It has to do with my human design. If you know it, when I found out what my human design was, it was like, oh, you teach through telling stories. I'm like, yes, I do. Oh my God, thank you. And if you are sitting here and you're like, okay, I know the difference between witchcraft, Wicca, and paganism, please still listen. Because I'm throwing in my snark, and I do have a couple opinions that I'm going to be throwing in here and there. So it's still going to be a fun episode. But let's get started because it's going to be a big one. Okay. So I'm going to start with paganism. Okay. Because, and if you're not watching me on YouTube, I'm going to make a lot of hand gestures. Okay. A lot of hand gestures. Paganism is like the big, huge umbrella. Okay, so if you're thinking of religions, And most people can understand it this way, okay? When you think of Christianity as an umbrella, under that umbrella, you have the different spokes of an umbrella or spokes of a wheel. I don't care, whatever you want to visualize. But you have Catholicism. Then you have like Protestant. And even under that, you're going to go into Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian. These are all different branches, but the overall umbrella is Christianity, okay? Paganism has the same thing. So paganism is a big old umbrella. It's a catch-all term, okay? It is a broad spiritual category that includes earth-based, polytheistic, animistic, or folk traditions outside of what we consider Abrahamic religions, which is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, okay? So paganism is not one thing. Paganism is a bazillion different things, but they all kind of have similar characteristics. They can all be around nature, is a very common theme. Well, okay, I'll get into that. I have lots of notes this time, okay? So let me go to the next point. The word pagan comes from the Latin paganus, which means villager or country dweller, okay? So it was used by Christians to identify non-Christians. Like if you were not a Christian, you were a pagan. Because back then, that's all there was. There was Christian and non-Christian. And we're talking about like in the times where people spoke Latin, where it wasn't a dead language. So there were Christians and then there were pagans. And that was it. You were either a Christian or a pagan, okay? Historically, paganism refers to pre-Christian beliefs, okay? Or pre-Christian belief paths. So this is technically where your Celtic, Norse, Greek, Roman, Egyptian, all of those pantheons come together, okay? If you believe in the Greek pantheon or the Roman or the Egyptian or anything like that, that falls under paganism, okay? We're still in the umbrella. We're still in the umbrella, okay? There's different spokes of the umbrella, okay? And often, but not always, pagans honor the seasons, natural cycles, nature, the moon phases, or the seasonal changes. That tends to be the common thread amongst pagans, is we are very nature aligned, or we're trying to be very nature aligned, okay? That is the common thread, but that does not mean that that's every single pagan, okay? So today, paganism is basically like a spiritual, let's try that again in case I want to use it as a soundbite. Today, paganism is like a spiritual spectrum, which can include, so these are the different spokes under this big umbrella of paganism: Wiccans, Druids, animists, which animism is like the belief that everything, rocks, a tree, birds, everything has a soul, okay? Or a spirit. Shamanism, heathenism, which is those who follow the Norse pantheon. Eclectic pagan, all of that, okay? All of those fall under paganism, okay? And then there's so many more that I'm not even listing here. Not all pagans practice witchcraft, and not all witches are pagan. This is where it gets fun, and this is where I understand the misconception, but when you get it, you get it, okay? And this is why the troll on Facebook, and I'm just going to call them a troll, because I don't know. I don't know if he knew the difference and was trying to get a rise out of me, or if he really truly didn't understand the difference between them. But not like a lot of witches are pagan, but not all pagans are witches, okay? And not all witches are pagan, okay? So that's what you have right there. That's our one umbrella. We're going to go with that. There's one umbrella, so many different spokes, so many more that I could even list today. Okay. Now, put that umbrella, let's fold it up. We're going to put that umbrella aside. We'll pull out another umbrella. Okay. Another umbrella is witchcraft. Witchcraft is a practice. Okay. So, actually, I might make reference to the other umbrella that we just put away. Let's just lay our umbrellas out on a table so we can see them all. Okay. If you're a visual person, paganism is an umbrella that just includes non-Christian belief paths. Okay, now you have witchcraft. It's its own umbrella. It is its own practice. Witchcraft is a practice by definition, okay? It is a set of magical techniques, rituals, spells, beliefs rooted in personal empowerment, earth-based spirituality, usually, and manipulation of energy and intention. Do you know what the manipulation of energy and intention is? It's magic, okay? So witchcraft practitioners practice magic however they want to, whether they want to do a full fucking 4-hour ritual under the full moon and they have 27 tools and they have blended an herb blend that they've had for 6 years under the eclipse season. That's when they made it, was 6 years ago under the blue moon eclipse. And then they want it doesn't, or you just point at something and go, I want to put my intention out there. Bam. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. You're a witch if you identify as a witch, okay? But a witch practices magic, some type of energy work, some type of energy manipulation, some type of sending their intention into the world, consciously sending their intention into the world, okay? Ancient forms of witchcraft date back thousands of years and are found in cultures around the world. So technically, like Celtic seers or Greek oracles or Norse satyr practitioners and even African root workers can be included under the witchcraft umbrella. But before you go, but Morgan, I'm going to butt myself today. I promise you. But many cultural practitioners have their own names or titles, okay? So where technically African root workers fall under the umbrella of witchcraft, they probably do not call themselves a witch, but they do believe in manipulating energy for a specific intention, which is magic, which falls under witchcraft. Magic practitioners are witchcraft practitioners. You can also be a magic practitioner without calling yourself a witch, and we're going to get to that too, okay? So please understand that for the most part, like what I'm saying right now is not written in a book of blood that was passed down for the last 2,000 years by God or goddess themselves. Okay, that's the other thing that we're going to get to too. And we're going to get to that in common misconceptions. So please understand that these are just the common, what is the word I'm looking for? I can be so eloquent when I'm actually writing stuff out before the episode, but then I get here live and I'm like, I can't words. The common beliefs or the common understandings about the differences, okay? And of course, there are exceptions to everything, all right? So witchcraft is a practice, which is a toolbox that anyone can use regardless of their belief system. Now, this is where it's going to get interesting. And I know that I am not the same person I was 2 years ago. So we're going to get into it. Okay? All right. Witchcraft does not have a single set of beliefs, rules, practices, deities, nothing. There is not a single set of anything in witchcraft. Nothing. Okay? What one witch believes is going to be completely different from what another witch believes if they are not Wiccan. We're going to get to that, okay? There is not a set of anything. So if you're like, oh, Morgan, but the rule of three, not witchcraft. Oh, Morgan, but the and the harm none, not witchcraft. Witchcraft has no set belief, set practices, no rules, no nothing. I need people to understand this because this is one of my biggest pet peeves. Yes. Okay. Some witches have deities, some don't. Deities, gods, goddesses, pantheons, Venus, Aphrodite, the Morrigan, Hecate, Anubis, Osiris, Hades. Some have deities, some witches do not, okay? In fact, because witchcraft is a practice, it is a skill set. It is just like crocheting. It is a skill set that you learn and you get better at the more that you learn it. Okay? It is a practice. Because it is a practice, it can technically be incorporated into any belief or spiritual path. Any. And this is where we're going to have fun. Okay? Witchcraft can be included in Wicca. Yes. Witchcraft can be included in atheism. Yeah. You can be a witch and not believe that there is a god out there or a goddess or any divine power bigger than yourself. You can still be a witch and be an atheist. And my favorite, you can be a Christian witch. Now, this is where I'm going to put my 2 cents in, okay? And I already know right now I have a lot of Christian witch followers. I have Christian witches in my coven, okay? So I really, truly want you guys to stay with me until I am done talking about this subject, okay? But this is where I'm going to insert my opinion here. There is a lot of controversy over whether you can be a Christian witch, okay? Here's my 2 cents. From a witchcraft standpoint, we don't give a flying fuck what you do. We witches, you want to call yourself a Christian witch? We don't care. You want to call yourself a devotee of unicorns witch? We don't give a shit. We don't care. From a witchcraft standpoint, you do whatever in the hell you want. And I firmly believe that. That is a personal belief of mine. If you are not trying to infringe on my beliefs and telling me what to do or what I can or can't do, I don't give a flying fuck what you do. You do you, boo. Seriously, you do you. You do what makes you happy. You do what makes you come to life, okay? From a witchcraft standpoint, I feel like all witches should have this mindset. And I truly believe that. If you are not hurting me, if you are not causing me harm, or my family, or my business, or my food, or as my husband says, or my sleep as well, which I have, if you're a longtime listener, you know that those are like my non-negotiables. I don't give a shit what you do. Call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Practice whatever you want to practice. Believe in whatever you want to believe. It is your world and it's not for me to have an opinion on. Okay? Now, with that being said, when you call yourself a Christian witch, it honestly depends on what your definition of Christianity is. Okay? If your definition of Christianity is that the Bible is your holy text and everything in the Bible needs to be believed and adhered to as it was written, then you cannot be a Christian witch. It specifically states in the Bible, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." And there are many other books in the Bible that tell you you cannot practice sorcery. You cannot have gifts, like psychic gifts or magical gifts. You cannot manipulate anything around you, and you cannot perform miracles the way that Jesus did. Okay? So if you are a Christian who believes that the Bible is the Word of God, 100%, and that everything in the Bible is true and should never be argued, then you cannot be a Christian witch, because your book, your holy text, tells you that you cannot be a witch. We witches don't give a shit what you call yourself. But if you believe that the Bible is 100% true, and Bible is the word of God, you cannot be a witch, a Christian witch. I'm so sorry to tell you that, okay? Now, if you're more over here in the Gnostic scriptures, the Christ consciousness, the love and the raise yourself and raise the people around you, and more of the things that were left out of the Bible, because there were books left out of the Bible. The Bible was written by man. You have to understand that as well. The Bible was written by mortal men. And it was written a long time after the shit actually happened. Okay? Or it was compiled after this. So little do you know, and if you're actually arguing with me about this, you're on the wrong podcast. Oh my God. There's a book of Mary Magdalene that was left out of the Bible. There are so many books that were left out of the Bible because the church at the time read them and was like, oh shit, this is going to make people think outside the box and question Christianity. We can't put that in there. No. We need them to only believe in the Christian way of life. And if they don't, then they're going to hell. Include everything in the Bible that follows that. Anything that says you have free will, or that you have the ability to think for yourself, or you have the ability to be like Jesus, throw that out. We can't have that shit in here. And that's what they did. Okay? So if you are a Christian who follows more of like the Gnostic scriptures, the mystery, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Christ consciousness, that you are trying to spread love to everyone, and you are trying to be Christ-like from the standpoint of love thy neighbor, and from the standpoint of accepting people for their differences, then you can call yourself a Christian witch, okay? Because you don't really have a specific set of Bible verses or a specific religious text that you're referring to. You're going based on energy, or what's not written in the Bible, what's written in between the lines, or what's written in these, Gnostic scriptures or these Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay. You have a wider, broader understanding of Christianity as a whole, instead of it being this narrowed down, completely filtered book that is used to control people. So there's my 2 cents on it. It's more like 10 cents, maybe 15 cents. And if you are one of my followers, if you are someone who is in the coven with me, I hope that you made it to the end of this so that you can truly understand that I don't care. Me personally, you want to call yourself a Christian witch? I don't give a shit. If that's what makes you happy and that's what brings you to life, then that's all that matters, because witchcraft is about empowerment. We talked about that, is in the definition. It is about witchcraft is a set of magical techniques or beliefs rooted in personal empowerment. Okay? So if that's what personally empowers you, I love it. And I want you to fully embrace it. Okay? I don't think any person who I've ever met who calls themselves a Christian witch, they know that there's parts of the Bible that are complete and utter bullshit. So that I've never met, me personally, I've never met someone who is an extremely, the Bible is the word of God, this is the ultimate holy text, and I'm a witch. I've never personally met someone like that. Everyone that I know personally who call themselves Christian witches, they are open-minded. They're like, oh no, the Bible was written by man. That's bullshit. Like, this is what, Jesus taught. And this is what Mary Magdalene taught. And this is what, you know what I mean? So, this is also, please understand too, you always have to understand the perspective that someone is coming from when they are very passionate about something. And when you understand someone's perspective, you can then be like, oh, I understand their perspective and why they're saying this. Or you can be like, I don't align with that perspective and, whatever. Mary Magdalene is one of my deities. And it took me a while to fully embrace that because in my mind, Mary Magdalene was a Christian deity, and I am not Christian. I'm not a Christian witch. But it's when you begin to look at the symbolism behind Mary Magdalene and who she was as a woman and the stories and what she went through and all of that. She had been reaching out to me for years and I refused. I was like, no, ma'am, you are a Christian deity. And it was once I finally shed, honestly, it's once I finally shed what can and cannot be a deity for me or for me personally, man, my world opened up and Mary Magdalene came out of the darkness. Morgan Le Fay came out of the darkness. It's like I took off these blinders that I had put on myself because, oh, that's a Christian deity, or, oh, that's a fictional person in a book. That can't be a deity. And once I shed all of that, my world just completely exploded open. Okay. So I do want to ask those of you a question. I have it here and I love this because I teach, but I also want you to think. I do. I love causing people to think. Okay. So if you consider yourself a Christian witch, okay, and this is broad, I ask you to ask yourself, and this is not in judgment. This is like a journal prompt, okay? Are you scared because of religious conditioning or a religious upbringing to drop the word Christian because you're scared that there will be some divine consequence to it? Are you scared of your past religious conditioning to drop the word Christian and completely explore the word witch? Or do you find that you really do embrace both? And where are your Christian beliefs at? That's a very good thing to define for yourself. Where do your Christian beliefs stem from and what are your Christian beliefs? Because we cannot look past the fact that Christian churches tortured and burned witches. So you have got to define for yourself, why do I continue to call myself a Christian witch? Is it because I'm so scared of dropping the Christian and embracing my full witch because I'm scared because of religious conditioning? I'm going to go to hell if I do. Or are you really able to embrace both? Do you have Christian ideals? Where do your Christian ideals come from? Where do your Christian beliefs come from? Are they more than the Bible? Are they based on Gnostic scriptures? Are they based on Dead Sea Scrolls? Are they based on the principles of Christianity, of love thy neighbor and accept thy neighbor and all of this? Okay. Are they based on Christianity or are they based on Christ? So, I love that. And now I'm going to switch to the next page and we're going to continue on. Okay. So in conclusion of just witchcraft, okay, we're still under just the witchcraft umbrella. I knew I was going to go off on that one, go off on tangents because I'm very passionate about this subject. Okay. You can call yourself a witch if you practice witchcraft, which are spells, rituals, energy work, magic, whatever. And if you choose to identify as a witch, call yourself a fucking witch. It's that simple. It really is. And that is regardless of your religious or spiritual beliefs. If you practice witchcraft and you want to call yourself a witch, then call yourself a witch. Okay? Even if you're sitting there like, well, I don't really practice witchcraft, but I do believe in some of the witchcraft practices. Get up and practice witchcraft. Man, we got into this. Most witches got into this because it's fun as shit. And it makes us feel alive. So many people, I do remember one of the comments of the video said, sometimes you're an armchair witch. Why? Why are you an armchair witch? Why don't you get up and do something? Why don't you practice it? Why don't you read a book? And after you read the book, do the shit in the book. Don't just Don't just sit and let life pass you by. You're a witch. You can manipulate energy. You can have the life of your dreams. You can do whatever the fuck you want. So why not do it? Why are you just sitting there letting life do you? Good Lord. All right, let's move on. Yeah. All right, Wicca. This is the, ooh, Wicca is a religion. Wicca is a religion. Wicca is not a set of spiritual beliefs. Wicca is a religion. It is nationally recognized by the United States government as a religion. If you are in the military and you die in battle, you can have a Wiccan, I think pinnacle maybe, put on your military issued headstone. It is recognized by the federal government as a religion. It is by definition a religion because Wicca is a modern pagan religion that has a specific set of beliefs, ethics, and rituals. It does incorporate the practice of witchcraft, but Wicca is a religion. Wicca is an umbrella. Okay? Now, does this umbrella fall under paganism? It does. It's a separate umbrella from witchcraft, though, because you can have an umbrella for witchcraft that doesn't have Wicca in it, but most Wiccans also practice witchcraft, and we're going to talk about that, okay? But Wicca is a religion. It is not a spiritual set of beliefs. It is a religion. Okay. Do I need to say it one more time? No. All right. Wicca, this is the other thing that gets me, because I'll get to common misconceptions, but when I read some of them, it makes my head explode, you guys. Wicca was created by man. Wicca was created by a man. His name was Gerald Gardner. He made up some bullshit about being initiated into a coven in 1939 or something. I don't know if he made it up or if he didn't or believe. I don't know. But Wicca was created by man. Okay? It was created in the 40s, 50s-ish. It widespread throughout the US or the world in the 60s and 70s. And it became a legally recognized religion in the US in 1985. Okay? So Wicca is a religion that was created by a man. I just went off in my head about Scientology, because Scientology is also a religion that was made by a man, a modern religion when you think of the grand scheme of religious beliefs over thousands of years. Wicca and Scientology, they're religions created by a man. Okay? So please. Now, there is Dianic Wicca that focuses on the goddess, but you still have to understand the religion was created by a man. So if you are a hella feminist, anyway, I'm just going to leave that open-ended. Anyway, there are branches of Wicca just like there are branches of Christianity. So, we talked about the Christian umbrella earlier, and there's Catholicism, there's Protestantism, and then Protestantism, is that a word? Protestant, yeah, maybe? Protestant, yeah. Anyway, then under that, you have like Methodists, Baptist, Evangelicals, you have, Presbyterians. So you have all these underneath Christianity. You have branches under Christianity. You have branches under Wicca as well. The quote-unquote purest form of Wicca is Gardnerian because it is Gerald Gardner's, what he believed and what he wrote down, okay, when he created Wicca. Again, Wicca is created by a man in like the 1940s. God, I can't wait to get to the common misconceptions. So you can have like Gardnerian Wicca, Alexandrian Wicca, Dianic Wicca, etc. So you could still have branches under it whose beliefs are shift. Like I said, Dianic Wicca is mostly goddess-based. Okay, so they really highly revere goddesses. Okay, the goddess mother energy. All right, but there are core beliefs that have little tweaks depending on the branch, but there are core beliefs of Wicca. The first one is that there's a goddess and a god that usually reign in equality and balance with one another, okay? There's also a belief in the wheel of the year, which are the Sabbats, and then the Espets, which are the moon phases, like new moon, full moon. There is a Wiccan Rede, which is and it harm none, do what you will. Okay, that is Wiccan. This is not witchcraft. I'll get to that more. And then there is the rule of three, or the threefold law, which is everything you send out comes back to you times three. That is a Wiccan core belief. It is not a witchcraft belief. It is a Wiccan core belief, okay? This is why Wicca is a religion, because there are core sets of beliefs and then core practices that are found throughout every branch of Wicca, okay? You can also be a solitary Wiccan. I think a lot of us got our start with Scott Cunningham's Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner book. That's where I got my start in the 90s. But I found personally there were a lot of rules in Wicca, and I didn't like rules. I don't like rules. I'm an Aquarius. I don't like rules at all. So I read Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner. I read it several times. I just found that there were too many rules, because Wicca is a religion. There are rules. There are guidelines. If you have a question, there's going to be an answer for it in Wicca. Okay? But you can also be in a traditional coven with like a high priestess, a high priest, all of that kind of stuff. Okay? So here's where most Wiccans identify as witches, because Wiccans do generally practice witchcraft. And this is where there's a lot of misconception, because just like the guy on fucking Facebook that was trying to tell me that Wiccans believe in Hecate and Gaia, and he named from like 4 different pantheons, you guys, and then he was like, oh, Wiccans also is an ancient belief. I'm like, oh, fuck me. Okay, so this is so much misconception. Most Wiccans do identify as witches, but not all witches are Wiccan. Okay, I'm a prime example of a witch who is not Wiccan. I started off reading a Wiccan book. I found it to have entirely too many rules, and I decided to just put it on the shelf until I could figure it out later. Got to England, got into a moot, which is an eclectic group of pagans, started learning everything from ancient Egyptian magic to druidry to Wicca to Celtic pantheon stuff, and I pieced together my own shit. I am an eclectic witch, eclectic pagan. Okay, so overall, let's recap and bring it all in. We're getting to the end here. Paganism is an umbrella of spiritual paths, sometimes religious, okay? Sometimes includes witchcraft, and some pagans call themselves witches, okay? So if you're doing like a little chart, you want to put this down, you can just write paganism, umbrella of spiritual paths, sometimes religious, sometimes includes witchcraft. Some pagans call themselves witches. Witchcraft is a practice of magical arts. It is not religious. It can be, but it's not. Like, it can be if you want to make it that way, if you want to incorporate your deities into it, but it is not religious by witchcraft practice standards, okay? It includes witchcraft, yes, 100%. And most practitioners do call themselves witches, but I've heard of some of them calling themselves magic practitioners, I don't know, enchantress, sorceress, whatever you want to call yourself, doesn't matter. And then Wiccans is a modern pagan, or Wicca is a modern pagan religion. Yes, it is religious. It is a religion. Yes, it includes witchcraft. And usually practitioners will call themselves a witch, but they will also, some call themselves Wiccan. Okay, and that is with a capital W, just in case you're wondering. All right, so that brought it all in of just a few common misconceptions. What I hear a lot is that all witches are Wiccan. Not true. It is not true. I am a witch who is not a Wiccan. Wicca is ancient. That's a fun one. Wicca is probably, with the exception of Scientology. Yeah, because I'm not versed on years of Scientology, but I think Wicca predates Scientology as a religion, but it's a man-made religion as of the 40s, 50s. Yeah. Witchcraft or paganism equals Satanism. That's a great one. I love that one. That witches or pagans worship Satan. I will never forget, we were out and about. I don't know if I've told this story before, but when I was in England, I was out with my friend Tina, who, let me tell you, redhead, heathen, just just wild curly red hair, and she was a Norse heathen. Somebody, we had a witch thing happening or something, or a moot. I can't remember what it was, but somebody said, "Oh, you're a Satanist," and she was like, "No, that's a Christian deity. I'm not a Christianity, thank you." And I love that. I've held it to my heart for 20 freaking years, because technically, if you dive into Satanism, it's not even a branch of Christianity, because Satanists don't even really believe in Lucifer. They just believe in doing whatever they need to get themselves forward in life, or putting themselves first above all. That's generally what Satanism is about. Um, but you can also argue that Satanism is a branch of Christianity, because Lucifer is a Satan, or is a Christian deity. Just like Mary Magdalene is a Christian deity, Satan is also a Christian deity. So therefore, if the Satanist believes in Lucifer and honors Lucifer, they're technically, it's a branch under Christianity. Because we witches don't believe in Satan. We don't believe in Lucifer. I mean, some might. But witches don't have a religious set of beliefs at all. So anyway, I just love that one. And yeah, anyway. And then all witches, common misconception is that all witches believe in the and harm not thing. That's my favorite thing to see, is whenever I post, because I post memes, guys. I post memes all over the fucking place. And let me tell you, memes are meant to be funny, okay? They're meant to teach, but they're also meant to just entertain. So I have so many people that get pissed off at me over memes, and I'm like, good Lord, lighten up, okay? But yeah, I've had people tell me before on social media, like I'll post a meme about gray witchcraft, or, putting people in jars, or hexing or cursing or something. And there will always be at least one person that is like, remember, and harm none, do what you will. And I'm like, I'm not Wiccan, so thank you. So, that's what I have for you all today. That is what I have for you all. 41 minutes on the difference between paganism, witchcraft, and Wicca, with a lot of my energy thrown in and a lot of my opinions thrown in. I really hope that if you did go back and listen to the first one, this one was a direct contrast to that one, because I love how much I've grown in the last 2 years. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not scared of saying shit anymore. So my Patreon bonus content is just more snark, you guys. I'm going to go over 3 of my largest pet peeves when it comes to this exact topic of paganism versus witchcraft versus Wicca. I have 3 major pet peeves. A couple of them I've kind of alluded to in this main episode today, but that's what I'm going to be going into. So it's just hopefully another 10 minutes of me ranting. Yeah. So if you are interested in joining my Patreon, the $5 tier gets you the bonus content for every episode. Sometimes it's bonus content, like me recording new stuff. Sometimes it's a poll. Sometimes it's a worksheet. But you can head to patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. And like I said, just the $5 tier gets you the bonus Patreon content. So I definitely want to thank you all for being here and listening. Please like, share, subscribe, pass this episode on to family members who can't keep shit straight in their head, or friends that are like, yeah, no, that's what my friend thinks too. She's gonna love this. Whatever. But the more that you like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that, it lets the algorithm know that the content is great, and it'll pass it out to more magically curious people just like you. You can hit up the show notes for all of my links on my coven, my website, all that good stuff. But thank you for being here, for listening. Let me know what you thought of this episode, and I will see you all next week. Bye.